Hey guys, this is Dave with Audio In. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new Seeaudio Z-Revyw's Rinko. Of course, this is a collaboration between Zeos of Z-Reviews and Seeaudio. This is everything you get included in the box. Of course, you have the IEMs, a nice case. You also get 3 sets of Zeos render ear tips, which are basically foam that's covered with a thin layer of silicone. And then, of course, this being a Zeos collaboration, you also get some anime style promotional material, including some keycaps that include some similar style artwork on the face of the keycap itself. Now, as for the price, design, and specifications, the Rinko is priced at $100 and has a dual driver configuration consisting of one dynamic driver that handles the bass, mids, and maybe even some of the lower treble, and then a planar driver that handles the upper treble. The faceplate is made from anodized aluminum. However, the rest of the shell is actually constructed using 3D printed resin. The design itself is actually a little plain, but to be honest, I do like it. But I do generally tend to be drawn to designs that kind of take a minimalist approach anyway. I also do like the angular cuts on the faceplate as well. I just think it looks pretty cool. Cable is nice for the price, and it looks and feels really good. It's a 2-pin with a 3.5 termination. It looks nice with the set. It's soft, it's comfortable, and the included ear tips are great as well. I had no problem getting a nice comfortable fit and seal with a large set. As a matter of fact, they did a great job with the shape of the IEM shell as well, and they fit my ears very comfortably, and with the included tips, it just made for an overall very comfortable experience. Okay, let's talk about the sound of the Seeaudio Rinko. So I recently reviewed the 7Hz Legato, which unquestionably has a bass dominant tuning, and as V-shape IEMs go at the $100 price point, I feel that it's done quite well, and it's actually one of my favorite V-shape tuned IEMs at this price point. But when I did the review, I felt it only appropriate to approach the review from a slightly different perspective and take into consideration the goal or objective of a V-shape tuning approach, which is focused less on offering lots of detail and technicalities, and maybe a more natural sound presentation is more focused on providing a fun, exciting, and engaging presentation. So like the Legato, the Rinko also has a V-shape style tuning. So I'm going to approach this review the same way as I did the Legato. So taking the objectives of a V-shape tuning into consideration. So my criteria is going to be threefold. First, does the Rinko at least offer a reasonable amount of detail, resolution, and technical performance? And does it sound natural enough to not be distracting or take away from my listening experience? And lastly, as a V-shaped bass head IEM, does the Rinko deliver what I want? Which for me, again, is just a fun and exciting listening experience. So as far as the overall tuning of the Rinko, we've already established it's a V-shaped tuned IEM. And we know that typically V-shaped IEMs put the emphasis on the bass and the treble, and that the mid-range is going to be recessed. And that's basically what we have here. However, there is also a pretty substantial amount of upper mid presence in the tuning of the Rinko as well. And you'll have to forgive me because I don't have a graph, but I'll do my best to try to kind of lay it out as clearly as possible for you. But as I was saying, along with the increased levels of bass and treble, the Rinko also has a substantial upper mid boost between about 2.5 and 3.5K. and is at about the same level as the bass. So while there is strong bass and treble presence, there's also strong upper mid presence as well. But then you have a substantial dip right in the middle of the mid-range frequencies like a V. So what does that do to the sound? So let's break it down a little more, starting with the bass. So if you were looking at the graph, what you would see, starting with the bass and moving my way up, the graph is some sub-bass roll-off and a bass peak between about 50 and 60 hertz. And then from that point, a fairly steep decline that doesn't bottom out until around 800 hertz. So there's not really a clean separation from the bass to the mids, which is going to result in some loss in lower mid and mid bass texture and detail, which we've already established that's not the goal anyway. Now, that being said, there is enough texture and detail as to keep it from sounding overly muddy, and because of that steep slope through the lower mids and mid bass, what you get is a very satisfying and visceral bass presentation with ample amounts of slam and punch that I'm certain will satisfy even the most demanding bass heads. And it also adds warmth and some note weight to instruments and vocals. So as you move further up into the mids and upper mids, it bottoms out at around 800 hertz and then immediately starts a steep rise until you get to about 2.5K through 3.5K, which is the ear gain range. Now, as you move past the upper mids into the treble, things start to smooth out a little bit, and while there is good treble presence, it does tend to lean towards the more relaxed side. However, it does still maintain an adequate amount of energy for the most part. It does also have a decent amount of upper treble presence past 10K as well, so it does have a fairly good amount of air and sparkle. As for treble detail, I would say it's not super detailed, but it is adequate. Now, moving on to technical performance, the Rinko has really good imaging, layering, and very nice forward depth. However, the soundstage is what I would consider to be a little more narrow, and it's more narrow than I expected. I thought, just based on what I saw on the graph, I expected it to be a little bit wider. So it is a little narrow, but it still offers a nice immersive listening experience because, again, it does have good forward depth and it has good imaging and layering. So to kind of summarize my experience with the Rinko, and again, ask the question, did it meet my criteria? And the first criteria is, did it offer a reasonable amount of detail and technical performance? Well, the answer to that is yes. It's not as detailed as the Legato, but it's still more than enough for me. And the technical capabilities, while not being the best in this price range, are still very good and for sure good enough. And then secondly, does it sound natural enough? And the answer to that one is yes, absolutely. While I did have a little bit of an issue with the upper mids and the way they were tuned, it still wasn't that bad at all. And it definitely wasn't enough to distract me or take away from the overall listening experience. So that's 2 out of 3. And finally, did it give me what I wanted? 100% yes. Despite, again, some of my small nitpicks with the Rinko, I still had an overall very, very fun and just a super engaging listening experience overall. As a matter of fact, even though the Legato might have a slight edge in terms of maybe technical performance and maybe a little more detail retrieval, I would still say I got as much enjoyment out of the Rinko. And again, since it meets all of my criteria, it's an easy recommendation for me. But like I stated, with Legato, just know what you're getting into. This is a very bassy IM. So it may not be for everyone. However, if it's a fun, exciting, and engaging musical experience you're looking for, then this is probably a great option for you. So again, the Rinko does get my recommendation. So that concludes my review of the Seeaudio Rinko. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you like my content, please take a second and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you would please like this video, please share this video. I hope you guys have an awesome day.